Welcome to the Great Basin Prescribed Fire and Smoke Transport Briefing for Monday, December 12th. Over the last 1 to 2 weeks, we've seen significant precipitation, especially in California and the Sierra, pushing into western Nevada, and that includes what we've seen recently over this past weekend with the bigger storm that's currently moving through the Great Basin. Also, some above normal precipitation up north and in some of the higher terrain of Utah, but still well below normal precipitation over southern areas of the Great Basin. New snowfall over the last 72 hours with this storm that's currently moving through the Great Basin brought several feet of snow, between 3 and 4 feet of snow, to the higher terrain of the Sierra. Also, we saw a few feet of snow up north into the higher terrain of Idaho. Further south, we've seen significant precipitation and snow accumulation in the lower elevations of Nevada, even into parts of northern Utah and Wyoming. And down low, we've seen anywhere from a few inches to upwards of a foot. The snow depth is indicated on the right, and you can see from our snowpack we are well above normal in all areas of the Great Basin. The satellite loop from this morning shows the deep trough of low pressure now moving through central areas of the Great Basin. So we will continue to see this storm track eastward today, with snowfall continuing especially over the eastern two-thirds of the region, and then eventually over the next 24 to 36 hours this storm system will exit to the east. Today again we will see that system moving over central areas of the Great Basin. We'll see some wraparound snowfall over western areas of the Great Basin, but certainly the heavier amounts will be across Idaho, Wyoming, and into Utah today as this storm system continues to track east. So obviously with the new snowfall and the cold temperatures, significant fire potential will remain low. Looking at our transport winds today, we will see those gustier winds both ahead of the system and on the backside of the low pressure today, so we will see good dispersion and generally moderate mixing heights. We will see lower mixing heights with those lower winds up across Idaho and Wyoming. Today, with the storm system moving through, obviously relative humidity will remain very high across the region with the ongoing colder temperatures and snowfall. Dispersion will remain good over areas that we will have those breezier winds and higher mixing heights over southern Utah, the Arizona Strip, and much of Nevada. As we move into Tuesday, this storm system quickly moves to the east, so we will see some wraparound precipitation on the eastern side of the Great Basin, but drier conditions over western areas and still continued low fire potential. Winds will be decreasing, but on the backside of the area of low pressure, we will have some north to northwest winds over parts of the higher terrain of Utah and Wyoming, and even over parts of southern Idaho and into eastern Nevada. This is where we'll also see the higher mixing heights, otherwise lower mixing heights over western and northern areas. Relative humidity will still remain high in all areas, and dispersion will be decreasing with the winds decreasing over much of the Great Basin. The only areas that will have higher dispersion will be over southeast Utah and parts of southern Nevada and the Arizona Strip. As we move into Wednesday, high pressure builds off the west coast, with the area of low pressure now well to the east. We still could have some lingering light snow showers that will affect northern areas as weaker systems embedded in the northerly flow track east across Idaho, but any precipitation will be very much on the lighter side, certainly compared to what we've been seeing. Otherwise, low fire potential. Still have some northwesterly winds affecting the higher terrain of Utah and Wyoming, and we will see those mixing heights lower, especially over northern and western areas and even into the east. Relative humidity will still remain elevated, might drop into the lower 20s in the far south, but still high across all areas of the Great Basin, and dispersion will be decreasing, so we will see those inversions in place, especially as the ridge builds in. Temperatures will continue to remain cold, but actually will get quite a bit colder as we get into later in the week and the weekend, with highs only reaching the teens or 20s across much of the Great Basin. We will see highs in the lower 30s out west, and then in the far south we will see those high temperatures remain in the the mid to upper 40s. The forecast clearing index today, with those gustier winds, clearing indices will remain high in many areas, but will be dropping on Tuesday with the exception of the higher terrain of the Central Mountains, and then will drop further on Wednesday as that system exits and we lose some of those breezier northwest winds behind the system. Forecast amounts of precipitation over the next 3 days as this system moves across the area today. We will see some good snowfall amounts continue over northern Nevada up into Idaho and Wyoming and parts of Utah, with drier conditions over western and southern areas of the Great Basin. As we move into Thursday, again, that drier pattern with the ridge off the west coast, still lingering showers at times with weaker systems embedded in the northerly flow move across Idaho and Wyoming and into northern Utah. Otherwise, good dispersion down south, but poor elsewhere. This pattern continues on Friday, generally a ridge of high pressure, stronger inversions, Still some good mixing over parts of Utah and Wyoming with that northerly flow, but otherwise poor to the west. So we move into Saturday, strong inversions, colder temperatures under the ridge. And then on Sunday, could have an area of low pressure clipping northern areas, but for the most part, dry across the Great Basin. So precipitation for Thursday through Saturday with the ridge in place. Again, not expecting much precipitation. Any showers in the north will be very light. And then looking at the 7-day total, again, most of this is including what we will see here over the next 24 to 36 hours, taking us through Monday morning. Again, drier conditions after the next 36 hours in most areas. The 8 to 14-day outlook, taking us from December 19th through the 25th, shows colder and drier conditions across much of the Great Basin. Any showers really lingering will be up across Idaho and Wyoming in that northerly flow, but the next storm that will affect the Great Basin, especially over western areas and into the Sierra, will occur towards the middle of next week. That concludes our webcast today. Check back on Wednesday for the latest updates.